Wendy Bell Radio is live.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Hello. It's the first day of November, and we were just talking in the studio about how odd that sounds. Is this going by way too fast? Can you believe that on Wednesday it will be a year since the election?
Can it be 4 years already?
I know. Can we hit the fast forward button on that bad boy? I agree with you. Yeah. Ooh, I got a notification. Well, I got a notification from us. I love it.
Iowa.
Yes.
Arizona. Erie.
Welcome. And hello to all of you on our app, the Wendy Bell Radio Network app. You guys, we're getting some great feedback on the app, some great numbers. You've been killing it. Thank you.
I got a Facebook.
Ooh, I have not.
And shipments have started to go out.
Yes.
Of clothing.
Jupiter, Florida.
Mugs are still.
Wisconsin.
Getting worked on.
Knoxville.
Please be patient.
Hi, Johnny. From Canada. Good to see you. New York. Oh, we're talking about New York. Liz.
Augusta, Georgia.
Nice. That's where you want to go. That's Brock's bucket list. He wants to play at the Masters, right?
I don't think I'll make the Masters, but I'd like to play.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
That would be. I could play that and then walk off the 18th and go, peace out, world.
Wow. We need to get you maybe expanded a little bit. Maybe somebody watching has connections, and someday you'll get a little invite.
We know that. Did you bring a sign?
Did I? Is that what
you sent us a picture?
Jason, hold on. I love this. You guys never cease to amaze me. This is from Heidi. She is from Middleburg, Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Ian. My wife is very pretty.
She is darling, and she looks a lot better than I do when I don't have any makeup on anyway. But she looks good anyway.
You don't have makeup
she's
on.
Darling. So this is a sticker made by Heidi in Pennsylvania for us. Here's mine, Brock.
I'm fabulous.
And then here's Brock's.
Hashtag I wasn't invited. I'm just gonna start holding that up.
I love it. It's so great. Oh, you're the best. Thank you. She and her husband, if I'm not mistaken, this is very interesting. My husband and I have 2 chicken houses. We grow eggs for Pete and Jerry's.
Do they grow eggs or do the chickens grow eggs?
Apparently they work for themselves, but they have not had any luck in getting people to actually show up to assist. So they're in that realm of small businesses that are working their ears off like everybody else because nobody else is on the job.
I can't get a day off.
Right? Don't ask for it either. You'll go to HR.
I got a bat, though. Taking it to HR with me.
Hello, Florida. Nice to see you. I know, Arlene, aren't those awesome stickers? It's just so great to hear people pay attention. My kids had a basketball game, a scrimmage on Friday night, and one of the dads from the other team and his wife came over to me, and their son came over as well from the bench after the game had ended. And he, the young man, 13 years old, Brock, loves the show. He's like, I listen every day. I'm like, what? That is super cool. And the father knew everything about us, everything about my family, everything about you, your bat. It's really gratifying that you guys pay attention. Thank you so much for being a part of our family.
Well, you're one neighbor who came up last night.
And said, there's a lot more of us out here than you think. Right? California. What's going on, Maryland? Thank you for being up and early with us. That's outstanding. Allentown, Alabama. Guys, killing it today with the hearts and the thumbs ups. Thank you. Ooh, Northwest Montana.
Love
I've
Montana.
never been to Montana.
Loved it.
I can't wait. Wow. Charlene says you're fabulous, Brock.
I can't argue with her.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you didn't have a comment on my haircut yesterday.
Well,
Other than, did you cut it yourself?
do you want to show everybody just so we can all be on the
No.
same page? Oh, go ahead.
I just cut it all up. I said I was going to do it. I don't like having hair.
I love when he gets whiny.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
He came over yesterday, fussy. Oklahoma! Woohoo! Hi, guys. Let's have a great show. Happy Monday. Happy November.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Hey, good morning, good Monday, America. The first day of November 2021. You are tuned into the one and only Wendy Bell radio program. If you haven't done so, remember you can always follow along and watch us live. Every single show is live streamed all 3 hours. I can't promise you that it's scintillating video, but you get every in and out and nuance of the program as we strive to bring you common sense conservatism every single day. Welcome along. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. It's how we start every single day. It's not good enough for Congress to do that, but we do that every single day here on this program. So welcome to each of you. You know, as I was paying attention over the weekend, kind of getting my little smattering of news updates here and there, every now and again, we do have to walk away and decompress for a bit. But I'm always reading, always just checking in, seeing what's happening out there, what the stories are. And I really do submit to you, I believe it with every fiber of my being, that the media know that they are done. And I'm not just talking about national news. I'm not talking about Fox and MSNBC and the usual suspects. I'm talking about regional television, regional media, particularly though television. It is an all-out scramble for survival right now, my friends. And I can see it every single day in the desperation as they cling like addicts. Truly, they behave like addicts, panicked over where their next drink comes from, over where their next syringe will be. It is truly an addiction that the media have gotten so used to their constant fix of Donald Trump. Have you seen how commonly this man who has not been president since January 20th of this year, who legitimately walked off into the sunset, deplatformed on multiple social media outlets, literally had no voice, left the sphere of public service to go do whatever it is that he does, and still lives rent-free in the brains and in the souls of your mainstream media outlets. Why do I say this? I'm going to start with a quick story. You know, I'm not one for chance encounters. I'm not big on, let's just say things always seem to happen for a reason. So when you meet somebody, I believe there's always a reason there. There's an opportunity. And I had one of these opportunities with an unlikely person probably about 5 years ago. And his name is Jimmy Woods. Somebody had written to me on my Facebook page when I was telling positive news stories. And that's what really my training has been. I did television for 20 odd years. Yes, I was a news anchor. Yes, I was a reporter. But by and large, my heart loved telling human interest, feature good stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. These stories are all around us. They're not told that often anymore because they don't get the clicks as a salacious, sleazy headline about Trump or somebody or some claim of racism. But this individual wanted me to get in touch with Jimmy Woods. Jimmy is a man a few years older than I here in southwestern Pennsylvania who had had a near-death experience. And on his literal deathbed, as he was incarcerated after getting hit by a car because he was so drunk that he had been hit, blown 75 feet across the street. It had been many strikes for him. So as he was badly injured, in the middle of that night, he said he had a visit from God. He remembers it like it was yesterday, how it felt, how it smelled, how it sounded, and how it left him. Now, this was a man who was a bar restaurant owner, which can be a very difficult and seedy industry. That's not everybody, but it happens. And Jimmy got caught up in drugs and was a full-blown alcoholic, admittedly so, to the point where he would describe to me before his ultimate reckoning, the day the car smashed into his body and shattered his legs. In order for him to get up and go in the morning and get to his restaurant and bar, his body was shaking so violently because it needed alcohol that he had to slide down the steps on his bum because he couldn't walk and crawl his way over to the liquor bottle and drink its warm liquid before going into work just so he could manage. Jimmy would later have this encounter, be visited by God, and from that day forward, never once, never again have a feeling, a desire, the urge, even the slightest hint of a want for booze or drugs. He had been healed. And so he opened up a food truck called Mission Mahi. And the mission part of his mahi fish tacos, which are some of the finest I've ever had in my life, the mission part is he hires recovering addicts. He goes out into the community with his food truck and provides counseling for those who know what Mission Mahi is. They come up to the window to get nourishment, but they leave with some spirituality, some focus, some hope. When Jimmy explained to me what it was like to live an addict's life, the panic, the knowledge of the spiral, the darkness. Now he's recovered and he's changed lives, so many countless lives that man has touched with his love of God and his patience and understanding of addiction. What I see happening around us, whether it's the commentators on television, whether it's the nervous opinion editors in your local newspaper, the national networks, there's a desperation, there is a hunger and a need for something. And the need is for Donald Trump. I truly believe this. I truly believe that they don't know what to do with themselves, that they've beaten the horse of racism. They've pushed this untenable, unreasonable, un-American agenda that normalizes pornography in schools, demonizes parents as terrorists, opens our border and floods our community with people we don't know who are not Americans. And now they are desperate. It hasn't worked. People see through them. They see their shaking, addicted hands. They can read the triggered narrative. And now, a public that once paid attention and might have even sort of believed some of what they said has turned its back, just like the addict's family that has to change the locks on the doors because it's not safe for them anymore to have that loved one in their presence. What we are witnessing is the scrounging bottom of the barrel effects of an insidious disease. It's ugly to watch, and they're fighting hard for survival. But when all you know how to do is to create false narratives, to point false fingers at false targets, to spin a story that is untrue, and to try to tell the American people that you are the color of your skin, not the content of your soul. And that we ought to choose winners and losers based on things that happened 100+ years ago. Americans gave into it for a while. We humored the narrative. We paid attention until it just got to be so ridiculous. And we turned them off. We stopped paying attention. What you're going to hear today is the ravaging effects of addiction. When you stop doing you and you allow someone to trigger you, to completely suck out every fiber of what's right or wrong from you, when you've become corrupted and you're addicted to that, ladies and gentlemen, it is an ugly scene. I have a montage of local news clips that Brock found. We're going to play it for you after the break. It will bring completely to full circle what I am saying to you. The rush, the panic, the scramble for the next drink, and the American people that have walked away. Dr. Darren Dubiak and Advanced Integrative Medical 360 are the antithesis of what I just mentioned. They are healing and hope and joy. So when you put on 20, 30, 100 pounds, when you wake up every day and you're like, I just never feel rested, when you almost feel as though you're occupying a stranger's body and you remember what it used to feel like when things were good and you didn't hurt all the time, it's time to pick up the phone and make that free initial consultation appointment with Dr. Dubiak at Advanced Integrative Medical 360. He will order an extensive blood panel workup for you. You will receive the most remarkable information about your body that you've ever gotten in your life. And with that, you will be armed to reclaim your joy. I know. I've watched it happen. It is remarkable. 412-227-9255. That is the number. Costs you nothing. Check them out online. IntegrativeMedical360.com. They can change your life. All right, when we come back, don't go anywhere. This is an amazing example of the depravity of this addicted media. They know that the hits aren't coming anymore, and they're scrounging. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. So this just in, the couch finally came.
And I didn't have to move it.
It's awesome. I'm so excited. You know, I had great experiences. I might share this on the show, so I should probably shut up. The people who are actually showing up and doing their jobs,
Do it.
I think we need to really support these people in a big way. Big way.
like me.
It's not really where I was going.
I'm a frontline hero.
Are you?
Yeah.
You're one of
I feel like
America's
I'm on the
heroes.
front lines.
Are you? Of what?
Fighting back the false narrative.
Do you understand what I mean though about how they're addicted and it's like
I do.
they can't get enough, but it's gone.
Well,
Like it's just the specter of him, which is interesting. Like,
I told
move
you
along.
I told you what I thought about the way liberals, like that hard left is. They're like the battered wife. The media is telling you to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And then they're repeating, and like you're sitting there going, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Leave him. And they're like, no, he really loves me.
Yeah.
And like you can't get through to that person. You want to grab and shake him and like, let me tell you from an outsider's perspective what's going on.
Right.
And they don't. I mean, it's not a good analogy because
it's changing. Well, right, because we don't want to. And the only reason I can use Jimmy Wood's story is because he's so.
You.
Oh well.
And we've had him on the air multiple times.
He's so open about addiction and how he had to hit the bottom, and literally the bones in his body that were shattered by that because he staggered around drunk and got plowed by a car. And he's so lucky to be alive.
And it is a tough business to be in to where you're not drinking.
You're around it all the time, stress.
I bartended. You're always listening to people's problems. The people want to commiserate with you, so they want you to drink with them.
High turnover business, really tough to find people who are actually down with doing honest work and not stealing. Because there's so much exchange of money. But that day ended up being the best day of his life because there was the day
usually rock bottom.
I mean, literally
becomes the best day.
Yes, and the people in his life who gave him tough love, the judge,
right,
who sent him away, and was like, "You're going away." I don't use the addiction analogy lightly in any regard, but I think that the tired narratives that you're going to hear throughout today's show, which really underscore the theme of, we paid attention for a long time, but you've lost us because you're a one-trick pony. You can only be one thing, and that is outraged. You can't be honest. Right? You can't honestly report things because if you did, we wouldn't be in the situation where we are today. I'm talking euphemistically about the media. It's something that they've got to be outraged about. There's got to be this group mentality. Everybody gets on board. Oh my goodness, because nobody knows what to do anymore. Donald Trump was the 4-year media dream. They didn't have to do anything. There was no going out and enterprising story ideas. There wasn't journalists, no journalists sitting in the newsroom pondering something that they noticed that was worthy of some review or investigating. No, it became complacency 101. And now they're scrounging for the scraps. They're trying to get the very last vestiges of Donald Trump as he has just continued living his life, doing what he does, whatever it is. I don't follow what Donald Trump does. I wish him only the best. I do believe he's the person to win in 2024. That's me saying that. That's fine. You might disagree with me. But the panic, the palpable panic. So I want you to pay attention to this next audio soundbite. If you're watching on the Wendy Bell Radio Network app or on Facebook, you'll see the live stream of this montage. Somebody is selected, and there've got to be 20 different television stations where their news anchors are getting up and they're doing like a public service announcement. All of the words are exactly the same. So as a radio listener, you will be a little confused at first, but remember, they're going to show and play they're going to layer the audio on top of it so you can hear how many people are parroting the same thing. The mission of this montage is for local news stations to tell you, be wary of fake news out there. Man, oh man, is that rich. Go ahead.
I am Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Wow. Wow. Fake news narratives like that. Ladies and gentlemen, the desperation. They're addicts. The jig is up. I dare say that it is going to be in just a few years. The local TV news in your market, what used to be 3, maybe 4 outlets, is going to whittle down to 2 or even 1. Americans have had enough. And they know we've had enough. Every single day, it's the same browbeating of BS, and Americans can smell the baloney a mile away. Coming up on the program, an unusual source of clarity from that same mainstream media. It's the poll numbers they cannot deny. And this is why I believe the media are in full tailspin mode. You're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program. It's a maddening montage to listen to, but it's so indicative of follow the leader. Everybody's doing the same thing. Nobody's literally, if I was a news anchor and I had to stand there, and I did television for 24 years, I'd have to come home to Joe and be like, I'm peace out. This is just.
Well, you and I have both seen it on both sides. Don't let anyone fool you. Radio's no different. I worked in a radio newsroom, not exclusively. My wife did.
The cut and pasting of storylines from the Associated Press, that tends to be the bigger pusher of the BS. Yes.
And it's no different than a host, or not a host, a news reporter, just changing the verbiage so it doesn't sound like you're totally ripping it off of someone else. So this is nothing new. It's been around for a while. Let me say this. When I started 20 some odd years ago, I watched guys on typewriters type out their stories.
For sure. I remember when you could still smoke in the newsroom.
Right.
Right. It was that long ago. And we would have carbon copies. All the news would get printed out and you'd get this copy and the anchor would get that copy.
And when you go look at your newspaper.
Look at even 60 Minutes, the demise of 60 Minutes. So yesterday after trick-or-treating, my 3 youngest sons went over to their grandparents. Now, this is Bobby and Chris's last year of trick-or-treating. They spent all of 10 seconds thinking about it as they put their jerseys on, the Steeler jerseys, and pretended to be, I don't know.
Bobby should have limped around. He was an injured player.
Anyway, so they go over to their grandmother's house, have some pizza. It's what we've done since the beginning of time. The boys come home. Mother-in-law drops them off. They're all sugared up, pizzaed out, had some sodas. So they're like, blah, 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 blah. So I said, how was it? How's grandma? How's grandpa? Is everybody good? And Bobby goes, you wouldn't have liked it. And I said, why? And he said, they had 60 Minutes on. And I'm like, oh my goodness, my kids know my disdain for 60 Minutes. Because whenever it's on, I have to leave. Now, whatever, my in-laws are welcome to do whatever they want to do. I just don't want to hear it. It's just, it used to be such a great show. And it's just, I love this note that you got, Jason, from a fan in Sweden.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that?
No.
Hi, Wendy. I'm a big fan from Sweden. And then goes on to say really nice things about me, which I'm not going to say because then I'll get Brock's eye rolling. Oh, here we go. Or maybe his yins are on will come out. Mm-hmm.
By the way, back to topic, other than Wendy. Look at your newspapers. Look at the headlines. Look at the stories they're covering. And then real small, look at the byline. Look how many times you see Reuters, AP. These are all the same people.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why local newspapers are going down to 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
AP can only create so much.
Right.
It used to never be like that. Newsrooms used to be packed with people.
It's just, I think the desperation is now very palpable. I think even casual observers of media can detect that it's crisis mode, and it's of their own doing. I loved television for a long time. I really did enjoy it because I got to do what I wanted to do. I was given great photographers to tell stories I cared about. And they were long and they were meaningful and they meant something. Now it's just run around like a chicken with your head cut off, listen to the police scanner and throw it together and then insult people,
Well, look how much stuff, too, if you're watching TV news, you don't have to watch if it runs 4, 5, 6, the 4, 5, 6 is half of the noon and then new stuff. The 11 is basically the 6 regurgitated. There's nothing new. They'll give you the new weather, the new sports scores, but there's really, unless something happens, there's really no new news.
Well, and somebody on the stream, and I'm sorry, you scrolled by before I got your name. They said, we are the news now. And it's like, this is true. I mean, this is absolutely, this is why we support Jason's app, Wimkin, where it's a social media site, but it's conservative. And the only way you get kiboshed there is if you do pornography, vulgarity, or do something that's lawless or, breaks the law in some capacity.
The way it should be.
Which is, remember those good old days when actually people had decorum and manners and we weren't gross? Right?
It's getting harder to
I agree.
remember those days. And Hollywood's much like the political Democrats. They just keep recycling the same crap.
The same shows.
The
There's
Wonder
nothing
Years.
new. Now it's got to have a black actor.
Here we go.
Whatever. And if you pay close attention, we were just talking about it off the air on this stream. It's absolutely right. The media is going through the same old stuff every day. It's the same old jazz. How many people say, I don't even pay attention anymore. I don't want to be that depressed. My life is busy enough as it is. I don't need you to pound me over the head with it. But think about the commercials that you see on television. Think about the movies that are coming out. Has anybody created a new concept in forever? Now we just have to change the main characters of a Disney show and make them Hispanic or Black or LGBTQ or whatever. That's not moving the needle. That's doing absolutely nothing. And you're thrusting it down the throats of a tired America. Look, I am the mother of 5 young men. Is there anyone more vilified than the white man in America today? Why does one suspect college graduation rates, college enrollment rates for that matter, among white men have plummeted? White men are the butt of every sitcom now, right? This is the fat, goofy, loser guy who's the butt of every joke. That's now your new punching bag. Why would, and I struggle with this as a parent because 2 of my sons are in college, as you well know. My oldest son, Michael, has regularly said to me, this is the biggest waste of time and money, Mom. You know, up until about a year ago, I just sort of thought Michael didn't want to get up and do anything and wasn't interested in having to follow a schedule. Well, shame on me. What I should have been doing is listening to my son telling me stories about the crap that goes on in school. He just tested positive for COVID not a month ago. Still, every single week, every Friday at 9, has to go to the same clinic on campus, spit into a tube, and prove he doesn't have it again. For what? They're vilified. Schools are teaching us that the white person is the worst scourge in this country. Americans are tired of it. We're tired of it. Look, it's hard enough making ends meet, keeping your marriage fresh, dreaming, saving, squirreling enough money away so that at some point down the road, you and the man or woman you love can go do life on your terms, travel, see your grandchildren, spoil them rotten. It's hard enough. I don't need to be told that because of something that's completely out of my control, I'm a bad person. And so what we're experiencing is the tapping out of the American people. I'm done. COVID's done. I'm not saying that it's not a thing. I'm saying it's time to be liberated. It's time to be free. It's time to break away from the corrupt elites who want nothing more than to enrich themselves and blame you for everything. The best smokescreen in the world is when you and I fight with each other. Whether you fight because you're black and I'm white, or you're male and I'm female, or you're liberal and I'm conservative, it's all about putting people in camps. Well, enough is enough. And Chuck Todd, shocking. This just in, Meet the Press had a moment of clarity last night. I have an audio clip I want to play for you, number 2 here in just a second, Brock. I'm going to preface it with something that's truly remarkable. It was a longer segment. We snagged a portion of it. But you're going to hear shockingly very candid commentary from Chuck Todd saying, this is not good. It's not good for the Democrats. How about this? When asked which party would do a better job at border security, Respondents of a recent poll said Republicans by 27 points. 27 points. That is an absolute smearing. Which party would do a better job handling inflation? Republicans by 24 points. How about crime? Republicans by 22 points. This is a bipartisan survey. Which party would do a better job handling national security? Republicans by 21 points. How about which party would be better at getting things done? Republicans by 13 points. Are Republicans the greatest thing since sliced bread? No. But we have fundamentally different views than what's going on in this country today. I want you to hear this clip. Number 2, Chuck Todd, polls not looking good for Democrats. What?
Out this morning, it's filled with some scary news for the Democrats. The overarching message, Americans have lost their confidence in President Biden and their optimism for the country. At least they have right now. Just 22% of adults say we're headed in the right direction. A shocking 71% say we're on the wrong track. And that includes a near majority of Democrats who are saying that. President Biden's approval rating stands at a dismal 42% versus 54% who disapprove. Believe it or not, just 2 months ago, Mr. Biden was in positive territory, 49% approving, 48% disapproving. So what's pulling down the president's numbers? Well, look at this set of numbers. Just 37% say he has the ability right now to handle a crisis versus nearly a majority who say he does not. 37% also say he's competent and effective as president. 50% disagree with that description. What's more, Republicans, believe it or not, have double-digit leads in dealing with border security, inflation, crime, national security, the economy.
Yeah. You know, the only thing that's startling about that survey and its results is that there's still 37% of people polled who believe Joe Biden is competent in any regard. Who are these people? Where do you live?
How did they get 37% for both?
I have absolutely.
What's the statistical
I have
probability?
No idea how they do these things, but you have to then, here's the funny part. Those of us in the trenches, we common folk, we're the ones who get walloped with the taxes when these morons pass their spending bills that are completely idiotic. We're the people told that we're the problem by the elite highbrow media. They know much better than we. You guys, we've been talking about this for freaking 6, 8, 10 months. Like, are you just catching on now? Are you just understanding now what the problem is? Which brings my sights to Virginia tomorrow. This is going to be big. The desperation, the addicts' hands shaking, realizing that they've only got that racism card to play. They tried it over the weekend and it blew up in their faces. What an absolute disgrace for alleged members of the Lincoln Project. Mind you, this is the group of never Trumpers. If George Conway is a part of something, it's this. You know darn well that this is not a Republican-leaning organization. The Lincoln Project, sending apparently 5 of its operatives to a Glenn Youngkin rally in Virginia with tiki torches to hearken back to Charlottesville, where Donald Trump uttered those horrendously racist words, that there were good people on both sides. When you cherry pick things and you take them out of context, this is ivermectin. Why would anybody take a horse dewormer? Well, Brock actually gave ivermectin to his dog this morning. It's called HeartGard. This isn't what people are ingesting to save themselves from coronavirus. They know this. They play you. They think you're a boob, and the addict's hands are shaking. So what was supposed to look like white supremacists coming out in favor of Glenn Youngkin, the unlikely Republican candidate who comes out of virtual nowhere. He kind of comes onto the scene, and what looks like Terry McAuliffe, the former lackey governor of Virginia, who's just going to run away with it, but then opens his mouth and says the quiet parts out loud. Parents have no right to choose what their children are reading in school. Whoa, wrong people. Now, not even former President Obama, not even weekended Joe Biden, not even Stacey Race Bader Abrams can save Terry McAuliffe from what looks like a virtual implosion. Why? Because we're freaking tired of it. Look, if you've got lousy policies because you're corrupt and your claim to fame is creating narratives that are untrue, i.e. Charlottesville. What was another good one that they like to run with? That Trump had all of the people who were protesting in Lafayette Square tear gassed, right? So we could have a photo op. That wasn't even remotely accurate. But hey, look, we've got a mission. And the mission is to prop up whatever horrendous, corrupt policies we want to push through, usually by a Democrat. But we got plenty of dirtbag Republicans that need to go. And if we have collateral damage where we ruin somebody's life along the way, here's the problem. More and more people are on to the con. I have sound for you coming up. I think it's absolutely reprehensible. Terry McAuliffe hasn't just called parents domestic terrorists. He's trashed them again and again for speaking out about having porn in their child's schools, saying everything was hunky-dory at these school board meetings until these loud-mouthed parents came in and, quote, caused a ruckus. See, you're not supposed to disrupt the apple cart. You're supposed to stay at home, shut your mouth, and eat whatever they feed you on TV. But the addict's hands are shaking because people aren't paying attention. I want to tell you about Dr. Charles Simkovich from the Simkovich Concussion Institute and what he can do for you if you have suffered a traumatic brain injury, if you've had a concussion. And it doesn't matter if it's recent or if it was several years ago. In fact, I've gotten testimonials from folks who've gone to see Dr. Charles Simkovich in the Simkovich Concussion Institute with a child who got banged up playing sports, and they themselves had been injured years prior in an accident, and both the child and they were healed thanks to what Dr. Simkovich does with his hands. It's revolutionary. It is non-surgical. The vast majority of his patients see relief and healing of the brain in less than 1 week. Pick up the phone, make the appointment. You've got everything to gain here. 412-366-3700, 412-366-3700, online, Simkovich Concussion Institute.com. All right, so as promised, I want to play this sound for you as we enter the home stretch for so many races, but in Virginia in particular, all eyes. This is what Terry McAuliffe thinks about you, thinks about Americans who I don't know, the truth. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program. I'm gonna give Tony Moreno a couple minutes at the very end of the show, okay?
Who should I turn my doctor's bill into? Since the HR. No.
Do you want to tell everybody why you're so sore there, Chief?
Man, I got roped into playing football.
Oh my goodness, gravy.
And I didn't properly loosen up. I thought 2 beers was plenty to loosen up. Apparently that wasn't enough.
So Brock and Kate come over yesterday. It's like 4-ish after the Steeler game. Brock brings this cooler of all these unusual beers, different ones, and he and I will share them so we can sample, 3 or 4 different beers and not be out of our minds. So Bobby and Chris come in from being out, and they're like, Brock, come play football with us. So it's Bob, Chris, their friends, Gabe and Owen, out in the backyard, and Brock is like, I'm in, and he runs outside.
Well, there's 5 of them.
Was there a 5th? Paul, Gabe, and Owen. Yeah. And running around acting like he's 12 and more fit than probably he thinks he is. So anyway, yeah, needless to say, he's grimacing a little bit right now.
I'm grimacing a lot.
Which part hurts? Is it the lower back, lower backle area?
Yeah. Well, at one point I went and moved and like my foot slipped a little bit. And I didn't think anything of it. But then when I came and sat down to have another beer and a cigar, I just sat there and it started getting colder and I didn't, I just
You know
tightened
what?
up.
It's a shame. It's called AMAC, and it's the great alternative to the AARP, where people of advancing age can go and have conservative people surrounding them with various needs. Maybe you'll need dentures soon too. They could probably hearing aids.
I will say that this morning I sat in my car an extra 10 minutes because the heated seats were on.
Wow.
He's been complaining.
I know. You know what, Jason? You're a trooper.
Oh,
you're a trooper. We can what now?
And that was 2 beers pre-game. So the person said just 2 beers. That was pre-game.
Well, and then I made chicken wings. They were good.
They were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
And I think this is indicative of why they don't roll out weekend at Joe Biden's too much. And this is why Joe Biden has not had any live press conferences. You cannot allow someone who's not good with one conversation in general, orating in particular, but being able to conceal the true game plan if Biden's even aware of it. They can't allow him to go rogue, if you will, because what happens is what happened over the weekend on Meet the Press. So Chuck Todd sits down and I believe in a relatively fair manner wanted to give Democrat gubernatorial hopeful Terry McAuliffe an opportunity to explain why he said his words were taken out of context during the debate with Glenn Youngkin. During that debate, McAuliffe had said he didn't believe that parents had the right to go into basic libraries or classrooms and determine what their children were reading, that it wasn't incumbent upon them. Now, he said it. He said he was taken out of context. So Chuck Todd opens the door to this conversation by saying, this is an opportunity for you to clarify what you were saying, at which point McAuliffe steps into an excrement sandwich. All right, here we go. This is clip number 4. Go.
What Glenn Youngkin has done in this campaign is run down Virginia, run down our education system, run down our economy. And when you think of this right now on critical race theory, Chuck, it's not taught. So all you're doing is pitting parents against parents, parents against teachers, and they're using children as political pawns. I was in Hampton last night. I met a school board member, said our school boards were fine. As soon as Glenn Youngkin got nominated, all of a sudden these people started showing up, creating such a ruckus.
Which actually, if you think about it, is fantastic. Look at what happened there. Loudoun County, Virginia came out. 2 young women raped at school by the same guy. The father of one of them carted out, bloodied, his image plastered all over newspapers, all over the world. Parents out of control. Then lies about parents making threats. And the National School Board Association lying further, writing a letter to Joe Biden saying you've got to use the Patriot Act. Call these people what they are, domestic terrorists. What was really happening, and Glenn Youngkin seized upon this opportunity, was that parents started to wake up. Who wants to go to a school board meeting, for God's sakes? It's imperative that we do. It's imperative that we do. So you have a choice in Virginia. And by the way, for Terry McAuliffe to say that Glenn Youngkin is trying to run down the economy, he's not in charge. It's perfectly reasonable for a candidate to not be pleased with the economics of the situation presently. But he's just not in charge. He's not the one signing the bills, raising the taxes. He's saying, I'm not down with pornography in schools. Listen to the second bite. Chuck Todd again. McAuliffe doubles down on the parents.
So that was about a bill I vetoed, which people were very happy that I vetoed the bill, that literally parents could take books out of the curriculum. You know, I love Millie and Jack McAuliffe, my parents, but they should not have been picking my math or science book. We have experts who actually do that. And look what happened. He is closing his campaign on banning books. It's created a controversy all over the country. He wants to ban Toni Morrison's book, Beloved. So he's going after one of the most preeminent African-American female writers in American history, won the Nobel Prize as Presidential Medal of Freedom, and he wants her books banned. Now, of all the hundreds of books you could look at, why did you take the one black female author? Why did you do it? He's ending his campaign on a racist dog whistle, just like he started the campaign when he talks about election integrity. But Chuck, we have a great school system in Virginia. Dorothy and I have raised our 5 children. Of course, parents are involved in it. The question should be, could an extreme Republican bill
wants and what people wanted when they passed bipartisan measures, 2 of them, saying, you know what, parents ought to be notified whenever anything sexually explicit creeps up in the curriculum, whether it's an assignment, whether it is a book. And by the way, Toni Morrison's Beloved has some very explicit portions in it. Parents ought to be able to decide if they want their child to read such things. And at the time, then Governor McAuliffe vetoed those measures. This isn't about parents wanting to come in and take things out of the library. It's about parents wanting to have a say. Parents wanting to be parents. But Terry McAuliffe wants to be the one to call the shots. All right, when we come back, they're so desperate. They're now making up the news. I'll explain. Coming up on the Wendy Bell radio program. Don't go anywhere.
You gotta love Terry McAuliffe too, talking about his kids, his wife and him sent, you know, their kids went to school. Doesn't tell you is they went to private school. They did not go to public school. Yeah, I think all 5 went to private. It's just, you know, these people are so dishonest in everything they do. It's just how do you trust them? How do you look at this and say this guy, and him making this about a dog whistle and race, and it has nothing to do with who the author is. It has everything to do with what the author's work's about. I don't know. I don't get where people don't see through these guys and their dishonesty. Like, what makes me think you're going to be honest when you're not on a campaign? If he does win, what all of a sudden is going to make me think he's an honest guy? It's the same with all these candidates. I mean, look how much Joe Biden and that whole administration has lied since they got in. It's just false advertising. If we were able to get rid of Biden, we should be able to get rid of Biden out of false promises. You know, all this stuff, free college, gone. Health care, gone. You're not fixing any of that. You're gone. But they got you your Green New Deal. And let me tell you something. To me, it's a big scam. It's just money laundering of the government, paying the government itself under the guise of the Green New Deal. It's extortion and racketeering and money laundering all wrapped into the one. I'm just saying how we're supposed to take these guys seriously after they get in when they've lied so much.
Whistle.
What's that?
It's a racist dog whistle.
Right. Come on.
I'm over
I'm
it.
done. I'm done. You know what? You want to call me a racist? Go ahead, because anymore has no meaning.
It's now officially meaningless. That's a shame.
Yeah, has no meaning.
College, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, education is number 4 on his platform.
Yeah.
Now it's number 1 because of the Loudoun County situation. And obviously, Youngkin with his huge jump in this.
Oh, you pissed off the wrong people. Period. That's all they did.
There's no objectivity there.
The people who are pissed off
are the voters.
They're the ones who get up and go to work every day.
And not just that. If
Come on.
have this much pushback about CRT, I don't care if it's in your schools or not, Terry. If this many people are pushing back on it,
you shouldn't be trying to address it. You shouldn't be moving it.
Well, you have to address it. And first and foremost, Terry, you have to be able to define it.
He couldn't do that.
He couldn't do that.
And then he said to a black reporter
It's
who
racist.
asked him, how do you define CRT? And he stammered and yammered. And you know, when somebody has no platform because they're vacuous, he turned it on her and tried to like question her. I'm like, wait a minute, that's a very tired old strategy. We know how that plays. When you're losing, you then become indignant, blame somebody else, and then you drop the racist thing. Racism is always, that's always the final play. Because it used to be, if somebody said, oh yeah, well, you're racist, you had no defense. But now it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's so often and overused that people are like, okay, everybody's racist.
Everything
is racist.
When you say math is racist,
show your work.
You're lost.
That's racist.
Yeah, that's racist.
We're not going to make you write the essay to get into the on the SAT anymore because it's racist. No, what it does is it illuminates the failure of public education. People can't freaking read. They can't write proficiently in the 8th grade. 37%. That's called failure. And this jackwagon wants more.
Well, as long as we keep the public stupid, they'll keep voting Democrat.
They poked the
No
wrong.
offense to Democrats.
Poked the wrong. Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's
Poked
plenty
the
of you
wrong
out
bear.
there that for the longest time, I kind of identified when I was younger as a Democrat. I'm more of a socially
never
liberal.
have.
I don't care who you. Wow.
I just think sometimes you need to know that.
I don't think. She didn't give me my sticker.
You weren't invited.
I think we all just know it was nice to be able to commiserate with Joe about his story last night where he wasn't invited to somewhere. He's telling me about it. I'm just like, hey, welcome to my world.
Mm-hmm.
I said,
Brock said to Joe last night that he felt sorry for him because he's married to me.
What? Wow. Wait a second.
He was hammered.
That is fake news.
Would you like to clarify?
No, that is fake news.
God, there's a God of even. I believe in the God of even.
Okay, let me
He
say this.
punishes those who are
Okay.
hurtful.
We can see the size of Wendy, correct? We can see the size of me. got more chins in a Chinese phone book. The fact of the matter is,
Here we go.
we had the same amount of beers. So if she wasn't hammered, how was I hammered?
P.S. Who kept saying, "Are you going to nurse that? You want to put a nipple on it?"
That's not the point, because the fact of the matter is we had the same amount of beer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you didn't say to Joe that you felt sorry for him because he was married to me.
No,
you wanted to get
I said,
lost in
Joe,
semantics.
I feel bad for you because I get it every day at work.
Oh.
I said nothing about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Uh-huh.
I might have implied it, but I did not say it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference.
Uh-huh.
You and your fake news.
All right, you ready for some Chris Cuomo? Some pearls of total Disney wisdom?
Quiet. Quiet on set.
Yes, sir.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back, everybody. You are tuned into the Wendy Bell radio program, broadcasting live across the fruited plain. As we said, great to be infiltrating America's radio stations bit by bit with common sense conservatism. You know what was so offensive to me about what Terry McAuliffe said in the bit we just played for you regarding the demonizing of Republican Glenn Youngkin, saying that he's trying to go into schools and remove books, that he's trying to take a storied and highly regarded author in Toni Morrison and take her off of the bookshelves because he's racist. The shame of all of this is those dog whistles that he's blowing, we're so tired of. Everything is racist. Everyone is racist, which means nothing at all is racist, which gives true racists an excellent advantage. Literally, if you are guilty, before you even do, think, say, really, what's the point? This is where we are. The falling over themselves to try to browbeat people who aren't racist into feeling guilty or responsible for something years and years and years ago that we had nothing to do with. It's so disingenuous. It's so gross. And it's so the Democratic playbook. And this is why they're panicked. So just to show you the depravity, to go back to the whole analogy, they've got a couple plays in the playbook. This is the left, the media, which are oxymorons there. They've got anything Trump, which I think by and large, the majority of us, when I hear Trump's name mentioned, I want to talk about what's going on now. I don't want to hear you claim something idiotic from months or years ago. And how much do you have to blame President Trump? Joe Biden, while stumping for Terry McAuliffe, said Trump's name 24 times in 17 minutes because you don't have anything else. And we are so tired of it. I want to know how in the hell New York State is going to manage the flood of 5,000 migrant children who, in the last 11 months, have been flown in the darkness of night, in the wee hours of the pre-dawn morn, to avoid any kind of contact with people who don't want them brought into their communities. 5,000 taken into our New York City schools. 4 counties received 1,000 migrant students each. Ladies and gentlemen, they don't speak English. What could possibly go wrong? In the state of New York, $28,000 per public school student. That's what the schools get. Is there any wonder the left is against school choice? They want your dough so they can continue to fail your children. They can continue to indoctrinate your children. And just because 37% of 8th graders in the country are proficient in reading is no reason for us not to move them ahead into high school, where the cycle of failure continues even more. And then, because we want to complete the indoctrination process, and the only way for it to come full circle is for us to demand that everybody goes to college, but you can't read at 8th grade level. Well, we're going to say showing math work is racist, and we're going to eliminate the written portion of the SAT because kids can't read and write. And why are we going to do that? We're going to say it's racist. Once you say it's racist, well, party's over, game done. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Chris Cuomo, got to hear this. He's got a dizzying conversation with two scintillating individuals. One is James Carville, who has moments of clarity, and the other is, what's this guy's name? Stuart Stevens. He's with the Lincoln Project. So the whole nexus of this conversation is going to go back to what we spoke of last half hour. The 5 alleged Lincoln Project people standing with tiki torches like white supremacists, hearkening back to Charlottesville, blah, blah, blah. Get out of 2017. We're in 2021, worried about next year, for God's sakes. And at this path, the way we're going now, literally, do you think we can survive another year like this? I want you to hear James Carville. I whittled out as much as Chris Cuomo as I can. He's just noxious and dreadful in my mind. But this is the concern. James Carville, cut number 6.
And it's a very important election. It will be bad. It's bad to lose any election. I wish they would have had to been able to consummate this deal prior to Tuesday, but that looks like it's unlikely to happen. But I am very worried. I'm very concerned. Every Democrat should be making calls to people in Virginia and get as many people out as we can to vote. It's going to be a very tight election.
I'm very concerned. Every Democrat should be. What are you concerned about, James? That everybody is onto your scheme. Look, the only way they had any kind of a victory is to jam down the throats of the American people a $1.75 trillion disaster. And if you missed Friday's show, go back into the Wendy Bell Radio Network app, download it, click on BS boards, because I go through just a smattering of the garbage, like $2 billion for tree equity. You know, nothing says that matters to you and your family's ability to fill up your car and pay your mortgage like planting a bunch of trees in underserved neighborhoods. This is what we're talking about, and that's just a scintilla of the garbage. Your policies suck. They benefit the few. They're wrapped under this whole guise of do-goodery, but that's what I call the left, the sanctimonious. We know what's best. You stand out of the way. You're not allowed in our libraries, in our classrooms. Parents, get out of the way. We know sanctimonious, do-goodery. We're going to wrap it into this whole feeling of goodness, and everybody's the same, and doesn't it make you feel so good? And the idiocy where none of it ever works out because it's not supposed to. But then listen to this jackwagon extraordinaire, Stuart Stevens, talking about on behalf of the Lincoln Project, which is a bunch of never-Trumpers. talking about, look, this is how we show Democrats how to win. Go.
Some people showed up at a Youngkin event posing as Charlottesville protesters. A group you're with, the Lincoln Project, owned that it was them, that they posed this way because they wanted people to remember. You're getting crushed by people on the right as a dirty tactic. Do you stand behind what was done, and is that being what you guys say you oppose?
No. Listen, every day I hear people pleading with the Lincoln Project to help show Democrats how to win, how to play hardball. You know, this is an example. The question here is it's not about some guys who showed up at a rally. It's why hasn't Glenn Youngkin denounced Donald Trump for saying that there were good people on both sides?
There you go. There you go, my friends. Their hands are shaking. They're reaching for that vodka bottle. Donald Trump and racism. It's all they have. Why on earth? I mean, can you imagine female students raped at school? And this guy wants to make it about Donald Trump and something that happened 4 years ago that was widely misconstrued on purpose. It's all they have. Racism, Donald Trump. You know, see, the rest of us love our children. And if you don't have children, you have hope for the next generation. You want to leave this country at least as good as, if not better, than the way you were born into it. You see through the garbage. Do they not understand? You put all your eggs into the basket vodka bottle of Donald Trump. But what do you see everywhere Joe Biden goes? Trump supporters. We had a gentleman on Friday, our good news segment, guy walking from coast to coast, standing up for liberty, pushing against tyrannical edicts and a government that's drunk on power. And I asked him, I said, what surprised you most? You've never been west of the Mississippi. What was surprising to you? Didn't expect this. The thousands of Trump signs still in people's yards and not a single Joe Biden sign. America's not stupid. And we are fortified by numbers, the likes of which I dare say we couldn't even possibly imagine. And that is why in Virginia, the Democratic Party is suing the United States Postal Service because they say 300,000 mail-in ballots were never delivered. Oh no, it's the only way we can win. We've got to have these tiers of possibilities. If the message and the racism and the anti-Trump rhetoric doesn't work, we at least can cheat by mail. Well, maybe not. Because we don't like that either. If you pay for your own health insurance, if you're a gig worker or if you own a small business and you've got employees that you need to cover, this is important. If you could save between 25 and 50%, maybe even more, on your monthly premiums and have benefits with first dollar protection on many of your outpatient services, wouldn't you be interested in making that phone call, spending a few minutes with an expert? Well, that expert is my friend Tom Yakupin, and he sells insurance across America. New Era Health Plans, that is the group he represents. And he says oftentimes 25, 50% or more he can save you. He's an expert. I'm just going to tell you, he's a patriot and he's honest. I put my money where my mouth is, and that is on Tom Yakupin with New Era Health Plans. Go there today, 724-230-4500, 724-230-4500, or online, newerahealthplans.com to learn more. You'll love him. All right, when we come back, more and more people standing up for liberty and for freedom. I have a video I want to play for you. It speaks to the voice inside of you that thinks everything is lost. Oh, no, it's not. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Wendy Bell radio program. I want to talk to you quickly about bourbon.
Listening.
Not what?
You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio.
Yeah, I heard that. Thank you so much. So bourbon, as I was saying, this is a new color of roofing that Ireland Contracting, one of our favorite sponsors who's been with this program for several years now. They are an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred dealer. Only the top 1% of roofers in the country get to say that. And Diane Ireland said to me, look, Wendy, we're so excited about this new roofing color. It's called bourbon. It's got shades of like sea, and it's got like chocolate and caramels. It is so pretty. You're going to love it. But I need you to go to IrelandContracting.com, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, IrelandContracting.com. They do all home exterior stuff. So roofing, siding, skylights, windows, soffit fascia, you name it. They're experts. Check them out and call Diane today. Tell them we sent you. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. I drove by them this weekend. I almost stopped and said hello, but I'm not so sure I'm sure they're there on the weekends.
Sharon on the stream said something interesting.
Ooh, tell me.
When you were talking about McAuliffe in the book, she's like, but it's okay for libs to censor Dr. Seuss. I agree 100%.
That's a great point.
That's a fantastic.
That's a great point. Or we can't talk about the Bible.
Right. Or you hear the Bible's the most violent story book out there.
Well, we should start making a list of some of the more ridiculous triggered things, because I forgot about Dr. Seuss. If we all put our hats on and thought about it, and I'll go back in the stream and look, because I think we could probably come up with more than 100 different things that are just beyond
Russian collusion.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Potato Head. I forgot. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to start making a list.
Well, the Aunt Jemima, too, if you know that story. So successful. And
loaded off of it. Yeah.
Actual hero, and they canceled her. It's unbelievable.
I forgot about that.
It's interesting, too, because of this election taking place.
Kevin Hart.
I think Virginia, it's a Commonwealth, obviously. 3 of the 4 are very liberal. I think that's the Commonwealth that took down those statues.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah.
See how that's working for him right now.
You just ticked off a lot of people.
Chest feeding.
Gubernatorial, you have Lieutenant Governor and the Attorney General basically all winning Republican right now. So.
All right, here we go.
So not a good weekend for American Airlines. You guys heard about those high winds, right? High winds causing them to cancel, 1,500 flights over the weekend? Yeah, how about that in a coordinated sick out? The pushback is huge. We saw it last week. New York City. You know what? I lived in New York. I was broke in New York. And I left New York with a bitter taste in my mouth. I am impressed with what is going on in New York. Look at the tens of thousands of workers who walked out last week and walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. Estimates 50,000 people. We have 26 fire departments, fire stations in New York City alone that have closed because the men and the women who work there aren't down with tyranny and being forced to do something that they don't want to do. What is it going to take for the left to realize that their policies, their unhinged, triggered policies that are so bad for anybody? And those of us with common sense are looking around going, what on earth are you doing? What's it going to take? I lived in a row house at 81st in New York on the Upper East Side, a few blocks away from Gracie Mansion, where Bill de Blasio's, lives, where thousands of protesters over the weekend went and deposited their bags of garbage. There's no trash pickup. What's it going to take for one of these row houses to catch fire, for there to be an inferno that costs people, maybe even dozens of them, their lives? Then how much are you really going to give a fat rip about that needle in everybody's arms, Bill? because you're playing God with people's lives. We see teachers walking out. We see pharmacists walking out. And we see this nurse being escorted off of the job. Do you see the cut there, Brock? I want to make sure you see that. I want to make sure I actually saved it. You got it? I want you to see this. Those of you listening, you can imagine this is a woman wearing scrubs. She's got the thing around her head. She's a nurse. She's being escorted out of her hospital, and she's walking down the hallway, filming the last time she's probably going to be walking in those halls as she looks and says goodbye to her colleagues. Listen to this.
I am being escorted out of Kaiser Permanente Hospital for my religious beliefs because I don't want to get the jab. And I asked all day for someone to explain to me why my sincerely held religious beliefs are not good enough for Kaiser. And no one was able to do that for me. Bye. So now they're escorting me out because I wanted an answer, and I'm not leaving without an answer. And I have some nurses here who are standing with me in solidarity, and I appreciate that. And I just want all of you to count the cost. I want you to watch this and think what really matters to me, because I am willing to lose my safety and security, my house, everything for my freedom. And I want you to think about that.
If there's nothing else we remember today, it's like the woman who came up to me when last night during trick-or-treating. And we gave her kids candy, and she said, I just wanted, as the kids were walking back down the driveway, and she said, I just wanted to come up and say thank you for what you do. There are a lot more of us out there like you than you know. And I think that's why that has him so troubled, the Let's Go Brandon. How rapidly it is spread, how far and wide it has gone, how many Democrats are now saying it. It's the refined way to say something that's unrefined. But again, this is the Democrat Party that has among their group Robert De Niro, who openly says F Donald Trump and is heralded for it. Or Kathy Griffin, whatever, with the decapitated head of the president. Or Snoop Dogg, or Snoop whatever he is this day. Doing a music video where Trump is shot and killed, assassinated. Ah, yes, this is the party of decorum, right? When we come back, I've got some interesting numbers. Why Japan matters to you and your children today. And the UK as well. Don't go anywhere. You're watching and listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program.
People have been sending in some of theirs from the stream. Uncle Ben's.
Oh.
I remember the Dixie Chicks changed their names. People were saying Gone with the Wind. I didn't know that one. Yeah, Baby It's Cold Outside. The John Legend was so nice to re-record.
Oh, he is such a lovely voice.
How about the Cleveland Indians and the Washington Redskins?
Washington football team.
Right.
Wait, what's Cleveland?
Indians? No, they're going to be the Guardians or something.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But Tomahawk Chop was in the news.
Yeah, Donald Trump, God forbid. Yeah. Holy cow. Lost their mind. This is the conversation Wendy and I had before the show today. If they didn't die on every single hill, if they didn't pick a fight about everything, we might actually give credence to your Yeah, Lady Antebellum, Lady A. Not everything is a fight. Not everything is a war. Yeah, it's not the arm. It's not the bullpen anymore. It's the arm barn.
Is that right? Did that happen?
That's what PETA wants
You know.
to be done.
Let's focus on
Land
things.
O'Lakes.
How about I didn't buy it this weekend because of that. I know it's pathetic, but I didn't buy him this week because of that.
Coke didn't get canceled, but they went woke. Those poor polar bears are out of work.
Come on, baby.
Yeah, I mean, going a whole opening up to woke companies, that's a whole nother list. Yeah, Roseanne Barr was canceled. Forgot about her.
I heard he did this. What is your deal? Credit card, okay.
Kevin Hart was canceled for a little bit. Wasn't allowed to do the Emmys or the Golden Globes or whatever those stupid. I mean, we could make so many lists, like the amount of people that apologized, this quote unquote fake apologies, because that's what they are. Goya, they tried to cancel Goya.
And I liked that guy. Oh, I do like that guy, right? Did they cave? They didn't cave.
No, they didn't cave. They tried. They're bullies. That's all they are.
Who's they? What are you talking about?
Liberals. They're bullies.
Okay. I didn't know what you were. If you were saying them. All right, let's go. Come on now.
Like Dave Chappelle. We're going to cancel Dave Chappelle. Hey.
What? What?
No, hold on. She knows what.
I don't know why this isn't allowing me to update. Son of a mother.
Yeah, well, I can't remember the Southern lady that can cook. Dean? Paula Dean?
Yeah. She got hammered.
I'm searching for
Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, I think, can.
Could you be prepared for this in the next
Yes,
segment? Mm-hmm.
I think Dave Chappelle is going to be the one that turns this around.
Right.
With his response to them, like,
you know what
I
it's
will
going
not
to be?
Summoned. I walked away from 50.
It's going to be African American stars, I think, who absolutely moved the needle. Kyrie, I think, was huge.
The girl from
huge.
The Mandalorian.
Gina Catanzaro or whatever her name is.
I don't know. Daily Wire
Uh-huh.
ended up making a movie with
Yeah.
because of it. All right. No.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I think Dave Chappelle, I agree,
All right,
has
here we go.
great influence. Oh, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. You are tuned into the Wendy Bell radio program. Love to have you along for the ride. You know, as we're talking about this media that does not know how to do its job or is so hook, line, and sinker corrupt down with the Democratic Party that there is no job left to do other than to be triggered and outraged all the time. America's reached its tapping point. We've tapped out, don't you think? I'm interested in this story, and I'm interested because you're going to get two different versions of it. So have you noticed what's happened in Japan? I haven't, but you remember before the Olympics, they had built all these beautiful facilities, and then nobody could go because they had COVID uptick, right? So the players, or not the players, the athletes are quarantined, or they have to do this, all these protocols. Nobody can go in person and watch the Olympics, blah, blah, blah. My, what a difference a month makes. Japan drops vaccine rollout, goes to ivermectin, ends COVID almost overnight. This is on thesecondnews.com. Listen to this. The ongoing COVID-19 nonsense here in the United States exists solely and exclusively because our governments have failed to use the correct treatment. They use so-called vaccines when Japan has just proven in less than 1 month that ivermectin can wipe out the disease. Sweden's public health agency Wednesday recommended a temporary halt to the use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine among young adults, citing concerns over rare side effects to the heart. It said the pause should initially be enforced until December 1st, explaining that it had received evidence of an increased risk of side effects such as inflammation of the heart muscle, myocarditis, and inflammation of the pericardium, pericarditis. Finland, Denmark, Norway have also moved away from the COVID vaccines. Finland last Thursday joined Sweden, Denmark, and Norway in recommending against use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine in younger age groups, citing risks of rare cardiovascular side effects, blah, blah, blah. But by far, however, the absolute superstar among foreign nations dealing with COVID is Japan. Japan has pulled the vaccines and instead substituted ivermectin, and in about 1 month, wiped COVID out of its country. Any questions? Just so you understand the timeline here. By September, deaths from the COVID-19 vaccine jabs were being investigated. At roughly that time, the vials were under scrutiny, vials of the vaccine, and magnetic material was found in them. Very shortly thereafter, the Japanese Minister of Health announced that doctors could prescribe ivermectin. A month later, the Western press is shocked that COVID has all but disappeared from the island. The government response to reports of death in contaminated vaccines moves to real treatment, people get better, and the virus disappears. Now compare that to what's happening in the United States, excuse me, and in Australia and New Zealand. All three countries are in dismal failure in their handling of COVID-19. And that failure has resulted in staggering loss of freedom and destruction of commerce. This is the biggest news story right now. Japan has ended COVID, and it did it after it stopped the vaccine rollout and went to ivermectin. Same subject, written by the Associated Press. Vaccines, masks, Japan puzzling over sudden virus success. Really? Almost overnight, Japan has become a stunning and somewhat mysterious coronavirus success story. Daily new COVID-19 cases have plummeted from a mid-August peak of nearly 6,000 in Tokyo, with caseloads in the densely populated capital now routinely below 100, an 11-month low. The bars are packed, the trains are crowded, the mood is celebratory, despite a general bafflement over what exactly is behind the sharp drop. What is it that the Associated Press is missing here? It's called ivermectin. You complete boobs. They don't want to write about it in the mainstream media. They don't want to validate what doctors here have been deplatformed for more than a year for saying. Use ivermectin. I'm not telling you, they are. Some possible factors in Japan's success include a belated but remarkably rapid vaccination campaign. Look, where you choose to get your news matters greatly. All of us conspiracy theorists who were forced to go rogue when America's frontline doctors, the heroes of yesterday, became the demons pushing alternate treatments, different therapeutics, things that you and I can do to protect ourselves, or if we do get it, recover more quickly. We're deplatformed. We had to scrounge to get the information that we've known all along was worthy of investigating. And now I want to show you something on the BS board that is very, very important.
Time to cut the crap, because Wendy's breaking out the Ireland Contracting BS board.
So we know Japan has gone from 6,000 cases of COVID a day down to fewer than 100. People are not getting it. They are not dying from it because their government has made the cheap, highly accessible, and safe ivermectin, antiparasitic, used to treat malaria. Okay? This is not a horse dewormer. And those on the left who want to tell you that are complicit in what might be the greatest fraud in our lifetime. We've seen Uttar Pradesh in India, 245 million people cut their COVID infection and death rate by 99.1%. How? Ivermectin, among other therapeutics. This is interesting. This comes from the UK, and it's specific to children. And it should scare the living bejeebers out of everybody out there who either has a child or cares about children. The source of this, and it's entitled Safe or Insane. This comes on the heel of the FDA advisory panel unanimously voting in favor of making this available for kids under the emergency use authorization protocol. Mind you, if anything goes sideways with your kid, you can't sue anybody. There's no culpability. So you roll the dice. I want you to see these numbers. So in September, the equivalent of Dr. Doom / Dr. Walensky, the chief medical official in the United Kingdom, okayed the rollout of vaccines for COVID for children over the age of 12. So 12 to 17. Okay? This is the source of this is listed on the board. It's ons.gov.uk. Check it out. So the chief medical guru in the United Kingdom says, all right, on week 37, which happens to be September 13th of this year, we're going to make this vaccine available for kids over the age of 12. The next week, week 38, vaccinations begin. Okay? I want you to look at the timeline, the comparison of child deaths compared to the 5-year average of the 5 years preceding this year. Try to explain this to me, okay? The 5-year average of child deaths between the ages of 10 and 14 during weeks 38 to 41, which encompasses mid to late September to October 15th of this year. 5-year average of this time period, the last 5 years, 21 children on average died in the UK, whatever reason. Child deaths ages 10 to 14 during that same time period this year, 34 deaths. That's an increase of 62%, ladies and gentlemen. Now you could say, well, that's, it could be anything. Well, you're right. It could be anything, but this is where the coincidences just become a little bit too coincidental. The child deaths here, the 62% increase starts at precisely the same time the vaccine was rolled out to kids over the age of 12. Deaths among male children increased 83% in 2021 during the weeks 38 to 41 compared to the 5-year average. Up 83%, ladies and gentlemen. Something's going on. The largest jump in deaths happened during week 40, which was like the second week of October, precisely 2 weeks after the vaccine rollout in children. On the 5-year average of deaths, 120% higher, 120% higher in week number 40 compared to the last 5 years combined. 133% increase in male deaths, a 100% increase in female deaths. Kids are dying. Why? And then the largest increase in male deaths came in week 41, ending October 15th. A 200% increase in male deaths and a 0% increase in female deaths. The UK panel, upon reviewing this data, decided not to recommend COVID vaccine for children between the ages of 12 and 15. Something is going on. 21 deaths, 34 deaths now. That's a hell of a lot. And it's interesting. Anybody who wants to push this narrative that this is the patriotic thing to do, if you care about other people, for the first time in your life, not with the flu shot, not with anything else, for the first time in your life, it's your responsibility to keep other people safe. This might just look like a statistic until one of them is someone you love. How is it that the UK can see this? How is it that Japan can see this? How is it that Sweden and Finland and Norway and India can see this? And yet, here in the United States, day after day after day, it's shoved down your throat that the only solution to this crisis, the only thing that will stop this pandemic, is everybody rolling up their sleeve and doing as they're told. Is it that we're just greedier than everyone else? Is that we have more corruption than everywhere else? Is that what it is? Because that sure is what it feels like to me. That's what this looks like on the board behind me to me. Considering we pay the lion's share of all pharmaceutical company profits. As just 4.6% of the global population, we pay something like 90% of their profits. Makes you think. They're playing God with your kids. And I'm not done yet, because there's more to talk about. Little insight into the FDA commissioners. You should probably know some connections there. I want to talk to you briefly about the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh and Dr. Richard Rafferty. He has something that he does. It's called intradisc neutrosis, and it's for people who have bulging, herniated, or degenerative discs. And I've seen images of what those look like, and I can't imagine walking around with discs in my neck that look like that. But if you've been told that spinal surgery is the only answer, I want you to get in touch with Dr. Rafferty, because intradisc neutrosis is the non-surgical solution, and he has great success with it. How about 98%? He doesn't just help you ease your symptoms, he helps heal your body. That's what happens at the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh. Go to PittsburghDiscInstitute.com, PittsburghDiscInstitute.com, or call 412-906-9600. When we come back, interesting, the call getting louder and louder to push back against these vaccines in children. And it's coming from the halls of Congress. You'll get that next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. That is so scary.
I messed up. We need battle out of this.
Yes. You're making my back hurt now. Stop it.
Can't help it. All you were doing is sitting there handing out candy. I was actually entertaining your children.
Right.
It's funny.
Don't you love how the Associated Press scratches its head over why are these numbers dropping?
But you know, like
you can't even for a moment.
How about this?
You can't pretend that you're honest.
Let's look at it from this perspective. How about this? You don't want to take the jab because if it truly was about public health, you don't want to take the jab. You'd rather take ivermectin. Go ahead. Let's see how this works out. That way, you're protecting everybody.
Say that again.
If it truly was about public health, say, okay, if you don't want to get the jab, we're going to open up ivermectin to everyone.
Of course, but ivermectin costs pennies and nobody gets rich.
Well,
it's not
worth it. This is why it's not
but
about
wait a minute.
public health.
Then why do 100 to 200 members of Congress get treated with ivermectin? What do you bet that Jen Psaki, who has COVID, is getting ivermectin?
Hydroxychloroquine part 2.
It's a. What did you say? I caught myself.
Wow, I'm impressed. You were going to swear, but then you didn't.
It's so frustrating. Like it's about it is about public health. So let's treat people. Let's not.
I agree.
Let's not pretend it doesn't exist. I hate them all. All of them.
If your kids are anything like mine, they love Nerf guns. They love to play airsoft or bow tag, rivals, or slingshots. If you want to have so much fun with your kids or throw a party like never before, you need to get in touch with the Battlegrounds. It's the Pittsburgh region's largest indoor airsoft arena, and it is absolutely outstanding. Every party, 2.5 hours. They have all the equipment, all the safety gear, the referees, the staff to just have an absolutely wonderful time. And they're breaking out into the realm of remote-controlled trucks, boats, kits, you name it. It is one of the coolest places Brock and I have been in a long time, and it's called the Battlegrounds. Call today. Check them out. 412-530-2192, or go online and take a tour of the 2 Nerf fields, 2 airsoft fields. Go to the battlegroundspa.com. Remember, don't just play the game. Be the game at the Battlegrounds. I think there's some things that the medical quote-unquote professionals on the FDA advisory panel, well, I think they have some splaining to do. A remark made by a Food and Drug Administration advisor is, quote, the most dangerous statement I've heard in medicine, the only active practicing physician in Congress said in a new interview. His name is Representative Greg Murphy. He's a Republican from North Carolina. Dr. Eric Rubin, who's editor-in-chief of the New England Journal of Medicine and an associate physician specializing in infectious diseases at Brigham and Women's Hospital, sits on the administration's vaccine advisory panel. Before the panel voted last week to advise the FDA to authorize Pfizer's jab for kids 5 to 11, Rubin said in part, quote, "We're never going to learn about how safe this vaccine is unless we start giving it." Let me say that again. We're never going to learn about how safe this vaccine is unless we start giving it. That's just the way it goes, he says. That's how we found out about rare complications of other vaccines, like the rotavirus vaccine. Quote, "This is literally the most dangerous statement I've ever heard in medicine," Rep. Greg Murphy said. How's that going to sit with the average mom, the average parent who cares about their child, that they want their child experimented on? When asked about the criticism, Rubin told the Epoch Times in an email, the clinical trial of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine in children showed no adverse events. All data to date indicate that it is safe. It will prevent the hospitalization of children with severe disease as it does with adults. The vaccine works and it saves lives. Now, the claim that the trial showed no adverse events is false, as the FDA did discover 13 cases of lymph node swelling. However, none of the trial participants experienced heart inflammation, a serious side effect that's been seen at higher than expected rates among youth, particularly in males. The panel pondered the potential benefits and risks of giving the young children vaccine, but ultimately decided the benefits outweigh the risks. The FDA accepted the recommendation last Friday. Rubin said after the vote that surveillance systems would be crucial in learning, quote, how safe the Pfizer jab is for children. So your children are the new puppies, the little beagle puppies that Fauci's NIAID has been doing disgusting and grotesque studies on. Your children are the new lab rats. And according to this FDA advisor, there's only one way to find out what its effects are going to be. We got to start pumping it into the arms of little kids. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I say regularly on this program, and I'm going to say it after this break, I'm going to give you a little update on who the FDA commissioners, some of these folks have been. Their connections to Big Pharma. Their connections to owning stock in these companies that make these vaccines. Their connections to owning stocks in the companies that make the tests. Conflict much? You do what you wish when this comes out for your kids. I will never tell you how to, run your life. But if they try to make this mandatory and they think the walkouts of teachers has been something, they ain't seen nothing yet. Coming up after the break, what? A blue state governor shown to have funneled more than $20 million in Mark Zuckerberg money to Democrat counties? Go on. You're listening to the Wendy Bell Radio program.
Good tease.
What, huh?
Good tease.
Well, I don't want to give away which governor.
Oh, is that the only reason?
Or because I'm fabulous.
Oh, that's not why I was saying it.
Why?
Kind of disappointing now.
Why?
Because you're thinking you've got the right mindset. If that's the way you were thinking. It's not here, it's here.
Of course.
Okay. To the person that wanted to know where the battlegrounds is, it's in a place called Munhall. It's just outside of the city of Pittsburgh by Homestead. It is a pretty cool place.
It is one of the coolest places I've been.
You know, what we haven't talked about, company Christmas party.
Correct. We have it.
How fitting, because when she talks about if we talk about the company Christmas party, it's probably going to happen.
Wait, what happens when I do what?
I said, if we talk about the company Christmas party, guess what's probably going to happen?
I mean, if we want to have a good time.
Do we have any tape?
Twizzlers need to come up with a better way of sealing their packages.
Well, yeah, you can't.
How
get
hard
them
can
out.
this be?
They stick. Then you pull them and they.
I might have to change this to get a new picture for my Facebook logo. How about don't stand there then?
Good.
Take them over there.
I got to.
For liberals too, who said one death is too many. Well, if you're going to throw this jab in the kids' arms, how many deaths too many? You already stopped the Johnson & Johnson once. I just hate. I don't want to hate, but the things people will do for money, man, I'd rather be poor. No, it wasn't Whitmer. Just I don't know how you think this is a good idea for kids. If anything, I'd rather you give the kids ivermectin or something. There has to be more things out there.
If that becomes a mandate, I will homeschool my kids. We'll make it happen. Not a chance in heck. And the doctor with whom I live is the one who said that.
I can teach history class.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not so sure I want to have an expletive-ridden lesson from you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That happened. I might be living in fantasy land.
You are?
But I still think it would be nice to have some decorum with the way we speak with one another.
Good thing you weren't on the football field yesterday. I was the behaved one.
Wow. Uh-huh. Okay. I wasn't paying attention to you. I was managing all the work of a housewife.
You were sitting on the porch.
I was cooking you dinner.
Dinner that you wolfed down too. Don't act like you didn't have it.
I think I had 20 more after you left. And then I woke up this morning and it was like,
yeah, I was just going to say.
I was like, ooh, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Chicken wings are sort of like
I was
donut
surprised.
holes.
You
can eat a lot of them.
I will give you credit. Kate's not a big chicken wing person, but she got the recipe and she's like, I'll make those for you.
Well, let's not,
I said, what's the recipe? Salt and pepper?
I was gonna say that, right. It's Lowry seasoned salt, air fryer,
Hey,
400.
Denny says he'll teach shop class.
You're really good at interrupting people. You usually do it to Jason. Now it's just me all the time. That's good. Mm-hmm. I would take your shop class. You kidding me? Love that. Wouldn't that be amazing if we actually got back into the basics of teaching kids how to think, how to do math, how to value money? I don't know about you guys, but my kids have no appreciation for what things cost. They have none. And they've had lousy jobs in the summer where they made like $1,200. not lousy, but lousy paying jobs like camp counselor. They love it, love it, love it, and they have no money to show for it. Like, you should value the money. Oh, you're not saying anything now.
Am I allowed to speak now? I don't want to cut you off.
You might put up your sign. Yeah. I wasn't
By the way,
invited
do
to
they
speak.
still teach home economics? Is that a thing?
Not in Catholic schools, I don't think.
I'm sure my mother-in-law could teach sewing to them. I'm sure.
Hey, that's an invaluable skill.
She could teach them how to cook.
Ryan cooks. I need to get Bob and Chris. They need to know how to do stuff. They don't right now. That's on me. I'm more interested in having them brush their teeth.
History class, and you said no.
Yeah.
It's not like I said It's not like I'll be their English tutor.
I'll teach them grammar. Wow, that's when that 37% would be good.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Hello and good Monday, America, as we say. Welcome to a brand new month. You are tuned into the Wendy Bell radio program. If you are new to the show, we broadcast live from a studio somewhere in the land before time. That is what I lovingly call the beautiful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And you know, it is a very lovely state. And there are some of the nicest people you will ever meet in your life. I think you could probably say the same thing about where you live. But I call this the land before time because it's only in Pennsylvania where we would have such a hassle to buy alcohol, where you have to go to different stores if you want beer, if you want hard alcohol, et cetera, where we still pay a tax called the Johnstown Flood Tax that dates back to the late 1800s, right? As a revenue stream for the ridiculous bureaucracy called our government. We have an Allegheny County drink tax. We have a payroll tax. We have a tax because we want more taxes. We have a tax for the privilege of being taxed. And then, God forbid, you should complain about your taxes. Pay your fair share. You know what? We're tired of the taxes, and we're tired of people either being duly elected or cheating their way into office who are absolutely disastrous for our people. So while my focus right now is going to be on the land before time, you can extrapolate this out to a variety of other blue-run states where the dysfunction is the norm. And unfortunately, you have lackeys on the right who are as complicit and complacent as they are corrupt on the left. So before the election of last November, and isn't it weird that we're two days away from the 1-year anniversary? Feels like we've been through so much more than that. We reported on Mark Zuckerberg's CTCL, Center for Technology and Civic Life, a euphemism for we're going to see if we can spend a lot of money in specific areas and help people cheat by mail. That is what it is, after all. Mark Zuckerberg and his organization, CTCL, decided to give a heck of a lot of money under the guise of making voting more equitable, easier for people. Because, you know, they painted it as COVID was so dangerous, God forbid we should stand in line with each other. Everybody was going to die. And so what did they do, which was completely corrupt? They took our community's 50-odd voting stations and put it into like 3 to make them inconvenient, right? So people were kind of browbeaten into voting by mail. What also happened? Well, you got unrequested mail-in ballots sent to your home. And at least in the precinct where I was overseeing the vote last November, people, i.e. Republicans, of which in my neighborhood there are a scant few, who came to vote in person but didn't bring said mailed ballot that they had never asked for with them, had to vote provisionally on a nice pink ballot. It would be set aside in an envelope. And of course, we'll make sure it gets counted. Right. So Zuckerberg and his wife, under CTCL, spend something like $350 million on these drop boxes. Ridiculous. Money was given to nearly 2,500 election departments in 49 states. And again, it's given to these centers, saying because of COVID, we don't have the resources, the money is down. They want billions and billions and billions of dollars to facilitate what used to be something that was much easier, right? Show up at your high school gymnasium, show your ID. Oh, that's racist. And vote. Do you remember those good old days? Well, this is very interesting. Pennsylvania governor fingered for routing private election grants to Democrat areas. What? What? You're supposed to be the governor of this state for all people, not picking winners and losers. Tom Wolf, say this isn't so. This is disgusting. JustTheNews.com. A report concludes Wolf administration helped only Democratic counties secure $21 million in private grants from Mark Zuckerberg-funded nonprofit ahead of the 2020 election. And people went, oh, we're so surprised. Legislative Republicans excoriated Governor Tom Wolf for playing favorites after a report concluded his administration helped only Democratic counties secure $21 million in private grants ahead of the 2020 election. A website called Broad Plus Liberty reported the Pennsylvania Department of State and various left-wing groups worked together to funnel private grant funding to Democratic-leaning counties without offering the same assistance to Republican-leaning counties. This latest report indicates the administration and the Department of State played favorites when they connected certain counties to large sums of grant funding while ignoring other counties, said Rep. Seth Grove, Republican from York. Not only did this create unequal access to voters, but it also essentially disenfranchised voters in counties that did not receive equal funding. I am so tired of being told that I'm crazy. I'm so tired of being told by people on the left that this was the safest, most secure election in history. Because we all know it was anything but. And now the race is on because we only have a year to go until the midterms. This cannot continue. About half of the $21 million procured through the Chicago-based Center for Tech and Civic Life went to Philadelphia County. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Representing about $10 spent per voter. Other counties received about $1 per voter. The Center Square previously reported 13 counties across Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia received the private grants last year after challenges arising from the COVID-19 pandemic forced local officials to burn through their annual budgets long before the November 3rd election. How did COVID force you to burn through your budgets? People weren't working. That's a lame excuse to open up Center for Tech and Civic Life and their infusion of hundreds of millions of dollars into primarily Democrat counties. It's a lie. In an interview with APM Reports, Chester County's acting director of voting services, Bill Turner, described the $2.5 million grant his office received as a, quote, lifesaver that he used to fund 14 drop boxes, body cameras, and extra poll workers. Who got body cameras? Do you ever remember seeing any body camera footage, Brock, during the election? None. None. Honestly, I don't know what we would have done without it, Turner said. CTCL donated $350 million to more than 2,500 jurisdictions across the country for election administration after the federal government set aside $400 million for the cause, far short of the $4 billion some analysts said was necessary. How does this cost so much? Can anybody tell me how this costs so much? You know what I say we do? I say there are no private donations to anything. Nonprofit my foot. No donations. No electronic ballots. If you want to vote, you go in person. If you can't go in person because you're infirm, you've got an X period amount of time and a doctor's notification saying you're not able to leave your house. And I guarantee you there will be a free core of American citizens who will gladly volunteer to count said ballots. $4 billion? The organization said any election department could apply, and grants ranged from $5,000 to $19 million. According to the Broad and Liberty Report, however, an invitation to apply for funding was sent to all counties September 1st after Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg donated $250 million, nearly a month and a half after Democrat-leading counties were invited, the report found. Senate President Pro Tem Jake Corman, who himself is a hack, criticized the state's role in the grant process and said it raises even more questions about the blatant political bias in the election. Many lawmakers have questioned why private election grants were awarded predominantly to counties that voted for Democrats, even after accounting for population density, he said. Now we have emails showing the Department of State, the governor's office, and various left-wing groups were working together to ensure private grant money was funneled to areas where Democrats were expected to vote in droves.
Is Mark Zuckerberg's $250 million, does that count towards his fair share? Since he's one of the people that, is that his fair share?
There you go. Don't tell me it's bipartisan. Don't tell me there's nothing to see here. Don't tell me that 5 cities in concert, if you look at the timestamps of when they stopped counting and started counting again, don't tell me it wasn't well orchestrated, coordinated, but they weren't banking on Donald Trump kicking so much butt. They had to shut things down and make up for the deficit. And that took all night long. I hate cheaters. I hate liars. This is why Americans don't trust the system. And this is why tomorrow in cities across this country, Election Day is going to be huge, huge. When I think about business, I think about websites, how they look, how they run, that centralized place prospective clients land to see who you are and what you're all about. So ask yourself, is your company website up to par? Let Sierra Experts check it out for free. Sierra Experts is a managed service provider. Started by a veteran right here in Pittsburgh, they can set up your network, secure it, manage it, and more. They're experts in website design, digital marketing, custom-made software development, network monitoring, even backup and disaster recovery. You need smart people on your team who treat your business the way you do. Those people work at Sierra Experts. No matter where you live or the size of your project, call them today, 412-379-8333, 412-379-8333, SierraExperts.com. When we come back, you know what? You guys thought that Dr. Fauci and the Fire Fauci hashtag might have dwindled away. No, I've got something new to share with you that might really get your blood boiling. It did mine. And I'll share that with you next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
Need be. I'm not back. Can you just hit Wendy's mic on?
Oh, my. Hi, everybody. Sometimes it's hard to talk about so much garbage. I wish I was wrong about so much of what we've talked about. I remember I think it was maybe 3 or 4 months after the election, and we had gotten the information showing when ballots were counted, when they stopped counting, and when they started counting again all throughout the night. And we compared Maricopa County in Arizona with, I think, Philadelphia, or maybe it was Antrim County. We compared 3 different areas that stopped and started counting. And the timeline is like a minute off of each one. So don't tell me there wasn't some major puppeteer who was controlling all of this, saying Trump's up by blankety blank. You need to create 75,000 new ballots for Joe Biden, right? And then lo and behold, in Maricopa County, they go review those ballots and they find there are ballots that are so pristine, they've never been folded, with marks on them that clearly were not made by human beings. And they tell you you're a conspiracy theorist, you're pushing Donald Trump's big lie, right? And that you should be deplatformed. And then people like me who share this information, which we should be able to freely and openly talk about, right? We get either deplatformed, as I was then quickly given a permanent ban from YouTube, really, or we're clearly banned, shadow banned on our website and our Facebook page, rather. That's the answer you get. Don't talk about the truth. We're going to demonize you. Then we're going to deplatform you, and nobody gets to talk about it. BS.
Did they ever give a reason for why all 5 places? See, that's the thing.
No.
I don't have a problem if you have if you want to question something, but don't question me for questioning it when you won't even answer it. Don't even give me a bad excuse.
Well, see, but they think that you're
stupid.
Your attention level's only about 1 day in the news cycle. So if you can navigate that 1 day's headlines, and by the way, nobody in the media covered that.
Well,
so.
Quiet on the set.
You know, I do take great solace in this as more and more people are waking up. Look, I don't know what's going on out in Maricopa County, Arizona. They have the results. Do what you need to do. Protest. Do something. We've heard nothing. What did all of that time and all of that money go to? Representative Tim Ramthun calls for decertification of Wisconsin's 10 electoral ballots. Ladies and gentlemen, it's slow. The wheels and the movements of justice are ploddingly, painstakingly slow, but they're moving. And the more we talk about them, the more they move. State Representative Timothy Ramthun released the following statement regarding the Legislative Audit Bureau report and Racine County Sheriff's press conference. We spoke about this last week. The Racine County Sheriff coming out and saying, yo, there's some major fraud in our nursing homes and assisted living facilities, where people who don't even recognize their own children were somehow able to request and fill out a mail-in ballot, which they find excruciatingly dubious. Quote, I have continued to pursue truth and integrity of our 2020 general election. Recent developments have made it abundantly clear that the legislature should not have certified Wisconsin's 10 electoral ballots on December 14th, 2020. The release of the Bipartisan Legislative Audit Bureau identified 44,272 voters did not reflect proper voter identification, and also revealed the mass increase of indefinitely confined voters from 4,505 in 2019 to 169,901 in 2020. Tainted or fraudulent, these alone should be enough to raise the question of legitimacy of the 2020 election. Right on. How about this, as promised? This is so gross. Report. Fauci's NIH division funded hundreds of ticks sucking on puppies alive. You know, I don't know how this guy is still even relevant. How has he not been fired? Fire Fauci has been trending for days now. More and more is coming out about him. Dr. Anthony Fauci's division of the National Institutes of Health is funding an experiment presently at Kansas State University involving hundreds of ticks feasting on puppies injected with a mutant bacteria alive. The taxpayer watchdog White Coat Waste Project obtained the revealing documents through a Freedom of Information Act request showing that the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, led by Fauci, gave the school $536,311 for the project this year. The experiment involves injecting beagle puppies with mutant bacteria and subsequently allowing up to 250 ticks to feast on each of the puppies, sucking their blood for up to a week. A 2020 paper based on the experiment's findings reported that for the funding cycle, the researchers bought 18 six-month-old beagles from a commercial breeder. The researchers created mutant strains of the bacteria in a laboratory and infected the beagles with them. The bacteria can cause fever, respiratory distress, weight loss, bleeding disorders, neurological disturbances, anemia, bleeding, lameness, and eye problems in dogs. After infecting them, the researchers allowed several hundred ticks to feed on each of the beagles for a week to see whether the ticks would take up the mutated versions of the bacteria. The puppies have their blood tested 2 times a week for 2 months and are killed thereafter, according to the watchdog. Each year, 28 beagle puppies are killed for this particular study. The watchdog estimates the number of dogs killed throughout the duration of the entire experiment, which began in 2017, to be between 126 and 138 dogs. What are we doing? What are they doing? They lie. They conduct evil experiments for what purpose? They steal. They create smoke screens that are disastrous. Point fingers at everybody else. Meanwhile, everything, it seems like, under this Democratic administration is falling apart. But there's hope. And here in the land before time, it comes on the ground with an army of volunteers, and what they found will absolutely blow your mind. You'll hear about it live next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. You know, the problem with having people like Jake Corman in office here is that you have no hope of ever having any kind of justice.
No.
You know.
And he doesn't answer questions. Because the people in charge in the Republican Party in Pennsylvania don't ask. And because he doesn't offer, the liberals are never going to question anything he does.
You know, it's like once you get into your cushy little job,
Yep.
we'll give you a great assignment as long as you go along with the program.
And I'll be honest, we've seen. Go ahead. We've seen people in the Republican Party go after other people in the Republican Party to the point it's disgusting. Going after people, going after families, going after, and these Republicans against Republicans. It just goes to show that it's not about the people. People aren't running. Some of these people aren't running for the right reasons. When you go after another Republican, and it's dirty, they're not running for the right reasons. Jake Corman taking off Senator Mastriano. For what reason? For
a national hero, I might add.
You're going after another Republican. You're trying to take away his, I don't know what, legitimacy maybe? Is that what you're thinking? But the fact of the matter is you're making yourself look bad. You're making the party look bad. You have a big election coming out. I'm not saying Mastriano is running for governor, but if he does, do you want to put that out there? Like, your job is to beat Shapiro, period. That is first and foremost your job. But it's the rest of the Republicans who like to play the game.
Do you know what a Doug Mastriano would be, though, as governor? He'd be for all people.
Yeah.
He would be for
I
your
believe that.
kids, my kids, you know, everybody's kids the right way. He would not allow political party to, I don't believe, and I know him. You and I we've spent hours with him. He would not make decisions that were good for some and bad for others. He just wouldn't. I don't know that many veterans who would.
It's not in his DNA.
It's team focus. And this is like, this dude knows the Bible in and out.
He knows the history in and out.
He knows everything about, I mean, wow. The Civil War is obviously his big thing, but wow.
Of all the things to know now.
Oh my. Yeah, right?
Right?
I mean, he teaches it. He's got 5 degrees or something ridiculous like that. I mean, you just feel dumb around him. I'm like, well I'm moderately educated. You should. Hey, don't forget. I'm fabulous. It's okay to hate me.
That party I was invited to.
You should have seen Murphy with Brock yesterday. Did you see? He hadn't seen Brock in 2 months because we were always doing in the basement, the show in the basement.
Thank
Let's
you.
Just clarify that.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. That came correct. Yeah. Wow.
But anyway, he walks in the door. He walks in the door and Murphy legitimately went bananas. It was really cute in a very annoying way.
He went right by Kate.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. He went right by Kate out because I was still in the car. I was still getting stuff out of the car. Mm-hmm. And Kate opened the door and he booked right past her, right out to the car.
I'm glad he didn't take out her knee or something. I like your camo today. You look good.
Well, thank you.
You're quiet today. All good?
I'm just working, yeah.
Oh, like we're not?
Actually, I'm not that quiet.
Like
today.
we're not?
You
probably have.
Than any other time.
Who knows? By the way, we do need to get Teddy Daniels on. Have you seen his ad?
I have.
It's outstanding. It's very similar to Mike Collins in Georgia.
It is.
Like they're really, and you know who started it? Kimberly Klasick in Baltimore. You know, when she was walking down.
I don't know.
Beautiful woman with all the things on the wall.
I kind of remember Sean
walking
Parnell's
through was good. Mm-hmm.
Very good, too.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Comical, but
well,
to the point, too.
Can we be normal, everyday human beings and not be corrupt? Well, yeah, in fact, we can. She should be calling, I guess not. Or has she been calling and we haven't been paying attention?
I didn't know.
Yes, it's a call segment. So, yeah. Here she is.
Okay.
That's good.
Let me get this.
Welcome back, everybody. There we go. Just want to get the music down a little bit for you. You know what? It's easy to feel as though, well, whatever can we do? What is there for anybody to do to fight back, to push back, to, well, you're already doing it. You know, you're aware of what's going on in the media. You see the ridiculousness of the messaging. You see the headlines. You find alternate sources of information so that you can be educated. You have a variety of point of views. But there are people out there who are mobilizing armies of people. And one of them is named Tony Shoup. She's with Audit the Vote PA. And what Audit the Vote PA has been doing is walking across Pennsylvania and trying to figure out, are the people who are allegedly registered to vote or who are reportedly voted from certain locations or who live there, are those the people who really are supposed to be there? I'm so happy to have you back, Tony. How are you, dear?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want you to tell everybody about your canvassing, folks who are not from this area, because I think more and more places outside of Pennsylvania are doing what you are doing, which is nothing short of miraculous.
You make me sound way more impressive than I actually am, but thank you. Yeah, so we have had boots on the ground for several months now in red counties and some blue counties, doing exactly what you just said. We have a survey that we will go to the door and just let people know that we're doing voter verification efforts, trying to make sure that who is on record with the county as a registered voter with votes recorded in the 2020 election actually lives at the address and is the one that cast the ballot. And what we are finding now that we have boots on the ground in Lancaster and York, and we've already done Montgomery County. We have Butler, Allegheny. There's a couple of others that we're actually wrapping up some of our results and getting them into spreadsheets and getting them analyzed on the data side, is that roughly 30% of the people that we talk to, there is an anomaly of some sort at their house. And that could be different things. It could be more registered voters at that address that the people who live there are unaware of, or it could be more votes cast in the 2020 election on paper than what the people at the registered address say were cast. So it's kind of, I mean, it's disturbing, but it's not surprising because this is what we expected to find. And it's roughly 30% in pretty much across the board in every county. Now, these are very preliminary results. So we'll have a lot more specific data the more information that comes in and we get it analyzed. But for the most part, that's what we're seeing.
So extrapolate this further for anybody in the country. What you're saying is roughly 1 in every 3 voters, you're finding something peculiar with their location, or boil it down in that simple tidbit for me.
Correct. We're finding something peculiar. I'll give you an example. There was a house that we knocked on in Lancaster County. The person that took the survey at the door who lived at the home said that there were 4 registered voters at the house, and 2 of them voted in the 2020 election. But according to the State Department data that we have, there's actually 10 people registered at that house, and 9 of those 10 have a recorded vote in the 2020 election. That's just an example of what we'll find as we're taking these surveys and asking questions on the ground. So when that extrapolates out, and you look at, again, we're surveying thousands of houses, and not necessarily everybody is there when we knock on the door, or they're not willing to take the survey, which we're totally fine with because we're not intimidating anybody like the mainstream media would like to say that we are. It's completely voluntary. So that 30% is coming from the people that we actually connect with who take the survey. So it might be worse than that.
Unbelievable. Now, so how many volunteers do you have? How many doors have you knocked on?
I should have had that number before I called you. We have over 500 volunteers, and we have knocked on thus far, I would say, close to 3,000 doors probably total between the several different counties.
Yeah, and then think about this, and this is what kills me, Tony. So we've got 12.8 million people in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I don't know how many are registered voters. Would we say half, do we think?
Registered voters, yeah, there's about 9 million, I believe, registered voters.
Okay,
more than half.
so more than half, so more like 2/3. And you're going and you're finding that 1 in every 3 homes that you're canvassing has some sort of an anomaly. What do you do with this information? Because remember, the Attorney General of this state, who's now running for governor, said 3 days before the election, Tony, that when all the votes were counted, Joe Biden was going to win. He also said this is the safest, most secure election in history. What does one do with this data after it's collected and culled?
Right? The safest election in history. We've pretty much destroyed that narrative, I think. But that is a very good question. So what do we do with it? Because currently, as you may be aware, the Senate is supposedly doing I'll use air quotes, investigation into the 2020 election. But the grassroots, because of what we've seen, shenanigans on the inside and what we're finding on the ground, we have absolutely no confidence that what they're doing is actually going to get anywhere.
Correct.
Because they're not subpoenaing actual ballots. Everything that they've subpoenaed, we already have and have analyzed. They might be getting a few extra details here and there, but we don't believe that it's going to actually show anything significant that we haven't already looked at.
Correct.
So essentially what we're doing is going on a county-by-county basis and bringing these results to county commissioners and solicitors and anybody on the county level who is interested in cleaning things up and finding out, actually, maybe not even cleaning things up, just looking for people that are willing to take a look and find out, here's what happened in your backyard, here's what we're finding. How can we partner with you to address this, to increase voter confidence so people will actually want to go out and vote again? Because we hear all the time, what's the point? Nothing is being done.
100% correct.
And if I could put a shameless plug in for a write-in candidate for Allegheny County Sheriff, his name is Matt McCulloch. He's kind of stepped up and come out of nowhere, I would say, within the last week or so, because he has seen all of this. He runs a militia unit, and he has seen our constitutional rights be ripped out from under us over the last year, 2 years, since COVID, really, March of 2020, and has decided that as a sheriff of a county, they have the authority actually to arrest people if they break the law. And the challenge that we're having as we're reporting these things to county commissioners, or in some cases sheriffs that we have actually met with, there's no appetite for them to do anything about it. So we need, in my opinion, to get more
You need a fighter.
constitutional sheriffs.
Yeah, we need fighters.
Yeah.
100%. No, I agree with you. It's the whole situation. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening all across America. And yes, this is a microcosm in Pennsylvania and a tightening even still of specific counties. Imagine what's going on in your county. I think the whole pushback is the more information you get, Tony, the more we're going to share it. And I think the more of the groundswell of pushback we're going to get.
That's what we're seeing. That is absolutely what we're seeing. We started a billboard campaign statewide. Next Monday, you'll start seeing billboards in every major city across Pennsylvania with our logo and our website.
Right on.
And we're going to potentially do some TV commercials, too, to get the word out there, because our whole idea is we have to expose these people. That's the only thing they fear is exposure.
I agree. I think you're wonderful. I want to thank you for your time. Tony Shoup, she's with auditthevotepa.com. You're wonderful, girl. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
All right. You take good care. So here's why I wanted to have her on. These are the battles being waged that we don't see in the media. You don't read this story. They don't want you to know. Think of all of the things that they specifically have not let you find out about. Whether it's prolonging the shutdowns, whether it's continuing this charade that our children are at risk of COVID and that the only way to quote unquote keep them safe is to make them wear masks every day while in school. We know there are alternative treatments that people have used quite successfully, ivermectin being one of them. That reportedly 100 to 200 members of Congress who got COVID, even though they're vaccinated, used to get well faster. Why not you? We know all of the anomalies that happened. We know that the only thing the left has in its shaking, addicted hands is Donald Trump, racism, in January 6th. That is the trifecta, the triple play of their game plan. It's not about making your community safer. It's not about helping you get a better job. It's not about being extraordinary for your students in school. It's none of that. By the way, might I mention, and I had a couple experiences over the weekend. One was in a McDonald's drive-thru early in the morning on Saturday. My kids had a soccer game in the rain. They were starving. Mom, can we go and get a breakfast sandwich? Absolutely. Waited in line for 25 minutes in the drive-thru. This is the new America. Things are going to be more expensive, less convenient. Yes? So as we drive around, there's a guy in the car behind me who lays on his horn. He's ticked that it's taking so long. And I look in because I'm at the window and I'm able to look in and I'm seeing the people work. And they're running around. They're doing whatever they can as quickly as they can, as people have chosen because our Congress has given them more money than they would make working at McDonald's. And I said to the gal at the counter, she said, I'm really sorry about the wait. I said, you know what? Thanks for showing up today. We have to tell these people, we see you. You matter to us. We thank you. It's not a perfect system, but we don't blame you. You're here doing the job. The couch I've been complaining about for 8 months. How long does it take to make a silly old couch? Finally came on Saturday. The two gentlemen who brought it in could not have been more pleasant, more professional, more lovely. I said to them, I said, wow, you guys just make my heart sing. It's been 8 months we've waited. He goes, well, the lady we stopped at before this had been waiting a year. We tipped them both. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your smile. These are tough times for people all across the spectrum. It's not going to be convenient. It's not going to be affordable, but it's got to be temporary. It just must. And that is why what's going on at the grassroots level, Americans are taking their country back. It's exciting. There's energy. Enough people walked out of United Airlines saying no joy to the jab. Things change. We have the power to change. If you want to change how your body looks, Morgane's Fitness is what I talk about. Kelly Morgan, she and her husband own 4 of these facilities in Somerset and Cambria counties in Pennsylvania. And they are wonderful people. They're open 24/7 so that your membership needs are met. Yes? So if you work the night shift, you can go in at the crack of dawn. If you work in the mornings and you want to go in the overnights, you can. They have everything inside that you want to stay strong, to be safe, to get well. And they're wonderful people. Go online right now. In fact, it's the easiest way to check them out. Morgane's Fitness, MORGAINZ Fitness.com. When we come back, tomorrow is a big day in a lot of states. What's on the line? Well, everything. We'll talk about that. We'll focus it in for you right after this on the Wendy Bell Radio program. She's worked really, really hard. You gotta love a couple of women who get together, moms who aren't really plugged into politics, who decide to take a course on the U.S. Constitution and then get together and start something that's now rolled out with 500 volunteers. That's crazy.
You got to give kudos to the 500 people too.
Woo! You know?
Because that's not my type of thing to do, but.
Well, you're not that nice of a person, so. No, to carve out a couple hours of your week, you know, to go knock on doors. And I'm sure you're greeted by a bunch of people who aren't that pleased to see you.
Especially in this area.
You know, and you would say, we're just trying to verify election this or that. I mean, I'm sure people aren't necessarily always delighted with that. How's the back? Do you want Jason to walk on it?
No, it hurts.
That's a good stream view, I think.
What?
If I'm walking this back on the stream.
Yeah.
Quiet on set.
Remember that one picture of you lying face down on the ground back at the old place? You look dead. Facts. Wow. Just saying. I think the people who end up running for office who are former military or former law enforcement, and it doesn't matter where you are from, the number of people who really never before had a strong political proclivity. They knew that they were conservative, but they never really had the urge to get involved until something happened. Think Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. Think Mike Collins in Georgia. In Pennsylvania, we have a very big problem on the left and the right coasts. Well, not coasts, but ends of the state. Allegheny and Philadelphia counties. For some reason, the people keep voting in the same failed policies and the same failed people. But I wanted to give the last few minutes of my program because I know a lot of you in the land before time are paying attention specifically to Pittsburgh, the mayor's race. I'd like to welcome my friend Tony Moreno on. Hello, Tony. How are you, sir?
Hey, Wendy. Fantastic. Any better, I'd be in heaven.
You've got a big race ahead of you tomorrow, sir. But I'm on your side. I think you're the obvious candidate for this race. Tell everybody the battle you're up against.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time on here. Here's the battle. We're facing a defund the police career politician who is for mandates of vaccines and masks. He's under investigation right now. They deny it, but I took him to court and I made the county say that there's an open investigation with Mr. Gainey. He says he's never been under investigation, but he's the target. They're picking off everybody around him. His campaign manager has gone MIA. I believe he's in witness protection or he's under indictment, one or the other. He's gone. So there's a big problem right now facing my opponent, and I'm the answer. You know, this is the first time we're going to have a real choice coming in. This is our last chance. It's our last hope to be able to make a choice on how we're going to live our lives, and it's me.
Tell everybody your background, Tony, because you're the kind of guy who's starting to, or gal who's starting to get involved in politics.
Oh, absolutely. I retired from the police department after 24 years. I worked in this government. I saw where it was succeeding and where it kept failing. I was a United States Army airborne combat veteran. I was in the invasion of Panama during the Gulf War. I was on the Czechoslovakian border. I'm just a father. I'm a husband. I'm a stepfather. I'm a son. I'm a grandfather. I coach ball. You know, I volunteer at my church. I'm just your neighbor. I'm just an everyday guy who got really mad because nobody was doing anything in government. We kept putting the same people in, different faces. They read the same script. So I came in with the Pittsburgh First Message, and we're about to make history, Wendy. We're going to have our first Mexican mayor, Mexican Native American, and Scottish Irish. So, and I'm from Southern California, our old hometown back there. So we're making history right now. They know they're in trouble. We need everybody to vote. That's the most important thing, Wendy. There's a couple ballot measures there. There's some judges, and we just need people those conservatives. I don't care what you're registered at. You come out and vote for me, and I will make sure that I keep those vaccine mandates off of the table. The city just came out with a mandate, Wendy. If you're not vaccinated by December 22nd, they're going to fire you. I just got the phone call this morning. That's coming out in a press release right now. I promise, if you get fired because you choose freedom over tyranny, and if they try to make you make a choice over your job or vaccine, if you can just hold out for a few more days, I will hire you back. I'll hire you back at your same rate. I'll hire you back at your same seniority. If you do whatever you have to do to take care of yourself, but I will hire you back with fully regained from anything you lost.
We're listening right now to Pittsburgh mayoral candidate Tony Moreno. And the reason I wanted to have Tony on is because he represents that push to get our cities and our states back on the right track. What's the number one thing that you think is the most important, Tony?
Public safety, without a doubt, Wendy. My whole platform has been public safety and public works. That's Mayor 101. And public safety is the absolute top priority of any mayor anywhere in the country. Keep your residents safe and utilize the professional law enforcement officers that you have in your employ. Right now, they don't do that in the city of Pittsburgh, and my opponent feels the same way as the current administration, that we need less police. They've defunded us by $11 million. I will immediately return that. I will give an order to start training our officers, get a training class going, and get out there and engage with the community and keep us safe. They're not doing that. They refuse to engage the police officer with the communities that they're sworn to protect, and I will bring that back immediately.
Well, I think that, and I know I've been with you at several events, and I know you personally. I think you are the answer in a very difficult time for Pittsburgh. And I know a lot of folks listening where they are wish they had a Tony Moreno type candidate fighting for them. So I wish you Godspeed. I'll give you the last 15 seconds.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. Pittsburgh, we're going to get rid of the bike lanes in the business district. No mandates. We're going to take down the pension offset. It's a big deal for those employees in the city. I won't make you bargain for them. There won't be any more offset. I will keep you safe and your streets clean. Get out and vote tomorrow. It's important. It doesn't matter what time you do it. Just do it. Check me out at realsteelmayor.com. Godspeed. Thank you, Pittsburgh, and God bless America.
Amen. Tony, best wishes tomorrow. Appreciate you and your time. That is the choice, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we are. Are you liking where you live? Are you thinking it's the right way? You know, how can you make a difference if you can't do what Tony Shoup did from Audit the Vote PA and galvanize a movement to go knock on doors day after day? You do have the power of the vote. And that is why we have to ensure that our elections are free. They are free of fraud, and that is going to change. It must change. I want to thank you, as always, for tuning into the program. We have a lot of things that we talk about every single day. Today's theme, likening the media and the left to addicts clinging to their last shot, their last pill, realizing that what fuels them is not what fuels everybody else. We just want to be left alone to go live our lives, earn a decent wage, love our families, and keep them safe. Really, at the end of the day, that's what the stars and stripes behind me every day mean. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, peace.